In today's climate, nothing will make you a more accurate or confident shooter than Crimson Trace laser sighting systems. Get the immediate, decisive advantage of the world's only grip-integrated laser sights today. Shoot better. Stay safer. Crimson Trace.
This week on Gun Talk, we're talking about a new book that's combating myths about the NRA, an update from New Jersey on the Billboard campaign, a young man's gun safety training in action, and the toughest three-gun match out there. Plus, your questions and range reports. Call now, 1-866-TALK-GUN to be on the air. Now, here's Tom.
I don't know how we're going to get it all in. Hey, I'm Tom Gresham, Gun Talk. We are got a lot of stuff to share with you today. I'm telling you what, it's going to be, well, it's going to be packed is what it's going to be. We got a lot of interesting people, a lot of good questions, a lot of information to get out to you. We'll be talking about the Iron Man. It's unbelievable. The MGM Iron Man, it's an incredible three-gun match that we attended. Their phrase there is, if you ain't bleeding, you're not trying. It's the Iron Man. And boy, they are right. We'll talk about that. I got a great story about a young man who used his gun safety training. And it's just going to be a story that you're going to want to hear about how teaching youngsters gun safety at an early age can and does pay off when they run across a gun. It really is as simple as that. We got a lot of things going on here. And I'm going to be sharing some stories with you about what happened last week. We were shooting, I guess probably, cross my fingers, the last week of shooting the First Person Defender series for this season. That's where we take people and drop them into a real-life self-defense scenario, put them in simunitions gear. We're using simunitions, and then basically just start it out and see what happens, see how they react. I saw things I did not expect to see. I saw things that concerned me a lot. People who thought they were ready, and then when it all came down, either froze up, locked up, did the wrong thing, left loved ones in the middle of an active shooter scenario. I mean, it's like, whoa, it was startling what we saw. Saw some good stuff there also. We had a great grandmother who was rocking a 1911 and taking care of the bad guys. The guy, man, it was cool. It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun stuff. So that'll start running, November. So we got a lot of things going on. Of course, our shows Gun Talk and Guns and Gear are running right now on Pursuit Network. And then they roll over and start on the Sportsman channel at the first of the year. But you can watch them right now. We'll talk a little bit more about that later on. One of the challenges, trying to find the right word here, one of the challenges you have when you're talking to people who, well, I was going to say outside of the gun world, but actually inside the gun world, is trying to explain, assuming you know, what the NRA is. Everybody has an idea. Everybody knows the NRA. They know the name. They know the letters. They know the National Rifle Association. And the media has its spin and its take on it, and the gun banners have their spin, their take on it. And honestly, gun owners have what they believe about the NRA. But the truth is, you probably don't know all, and you probably don't even know much about the NRA. And joining us right now to help us out with that is Chip Lohman. Chip, how you doing?
Hey, Tom. Just doing fine, thanks.
Well, I'm glad you're here. You are the managing editor of Shooting Sports USA magazine. Why'd you decide to write a book titled NRA, The Rest of the Story, Getting Past the Perception?
Well, it's one of those things you just kind of grew on its own. I never set out to write the book, but I spent several years in NRA's youth programs department learning about all the different programs, because that was my responsibility, is passing it on to about a dozen youth programs.
Right.
And then the first idea that got me going down this road was I was at a meeting, 2007, 2008, meeting with one of the national youth groups. And at the end of the meeting, the young major, this was JROTC, turned to me and said, we're not going to be able to use any of this. And I said, why not? He said, well, you're the NRA. And that was my first introduction to this gap between the grassroots people who are involved with the sport and appreciate everything the NRA's done, and then you get up to a certain level where they don't participate in the sport, they don't know much about it. So at that point, the idea started kind of rattling around in my head, how do you communicate with that group?
So let me get this straight. He liked the program, he liked what you were doing, he said, but of course we can't use it because you're the NRA.
Yeah, I think what he was saying is the only thing I know about the NRA is some negative headlines. Even though he was responsible for youth shooting sports, he had never participated in it.
Yeah, and I run into that myself, and people say, well, NRA this, NRA that. And I said, well, you do know that the NRA trains more certified firearms instructors than everybody else put together. Well, no, I didn't know that. Well, you do know that the NRA is like the agency over a lot of different competitive shooting. You do know that the NRA trains law enforcement officers. You do know that the NRA has, and I start going through all this stuff, and they look at me like I'm speaking Greek or something to them. So people don't know. So the title of your book, and it's a little book. It's not real big, and it's really inexpensive, like $8. The title is The NRA, The Rest of the Story, Getting Past the Perception. And I'm looking inside here. You break it out. You've got talking about the media, the headlines that missed the mark, the Hollywood effect. It goes on and on. You talk about the programs, education, training, competitive shooting, hunter services, the museum. What kind of reaction, I guess, is the first question, are you getting to the book? Are people actually reading it and going, I didn't know that?
Well, that's the reaction I've had, just like you ran into, Tom, when I'm talking about the gunsmithing schools, the 18,000 NRA clubs, all the different things they do. Their eyes kind of widen. They say, I had no idea. The book's only a week old. Some of the reaction that I've already gotten from some of my students, I teach NRA pistol classes on the weekend. One woman said, well, how am I supposed to make them read this? And I said, well, that's not the idea. Go to a neighbor, go to a friend who you know to be a little bit lukewarm to the whole thing, and just share it with them. I got the idea when my wife has an idea, she reads in the paper when I'm heading out the door to work. She just hands me the newspaper clipping. Doesn't give me a big lecture. She says, just take a look at this. And so I read it when I get to work, and of course she was right. That's something I should look into. And so I'm hoping it's the same idea that without a lot of controversy, you can hand this to a buddy, and they either agree or disagree, but you haven't had a big food fight over it.
Well, the interesting part is you could hand it to somebody and say, look, read 2 chapters. That's all I ask, read 2 chapters. And they're going to say, what? I said, flip it open and look. The chapters run anywhere from a half a page to 3 pages. I mean, that's all there is. Just read 3 pages of this. It will take you 5 minutes if you're a slow reader. And if it intrigues you, then go ahead and see what else you find in there. I think it's a brilliant idea. What I find is that the general public, not gun people especially, but the general public, all they really know about the NRA is what the media has told them, and that is, of course, that the NRA wants to put a gun in the hands of every person, man, woman, and child in America. And you know what? They see the NRA as this big monster, and they see it through the eyes of the ILA. They confuse the ILA and the NRA, don't you think?
I agree, and we're lucky we have ILA. My own way of looking at that is I spent 25 years in the Marine Corps, and in the combat arms, the job was to look the enemy in the eye and make sure you solve the problem by being the only one that went home that day. But there are other people fighting the battle, the guys 30,000 feet in the airplanes and the people dropping leaflets behind the lines. Mm-hmm. I've gone from being a trigger puller to a leaflet guy. And we're all doing the same thing. I'm just doing it a little different way. Yeah.
Well, and I guess one of the things I would offer is that this is not, what I'm trying to say, it's not cover for the NRA, and it's not promotion of the NRA. What it is a way of saying, look, there are all of these great programs out there, and we hear people saying all the time, well, you know what, people ought to get training. Okay, the NRA's got that. Well, there ought to be a program, and then you find out, well, actually there is a program. There's a museum, there's the ILA, there's, I love this one, gun owner math, where you just run, and this is a chapter that's two paragraphs, is all it is, 2 paragraphs, where you talk about a Gallup and Pew poll where 40% of the people in the country 126 million people roughly own a gun, but the number of crimes committed with guns is about 43,000. And you do numbers like that. Those are those, wow, I didn't know that moments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the biggest misperception, I don't know about you, Tom, but I run into is NRA is nothing but a front for the gun industry. Well, no, there's something called the National Shooting Sports Foundation, created back in '61. So it's just fact-based. Try not to get into an argument. Just say, hey, here's the facts. Put a couple more cards in your hand, so to speak, and now what do you think?
Well, it's an interesting point, because you do hear this, and of course that's one of the media themes is that, well, the NRA is just a front for the gun industry. They get all their money from the gun industry. And I go, well, actually, no, that's not true at all. The NRA, the industry has its own trade association. And sure, gun companies buy advertising in NRA publications, but that's not where the majority of the money comes from. So,
and there are other things like that included, but one of the things I wanted to make sure I did was try to back up what I was talking about. So even the NRA members, like you were talking about earlier, who may not know all the things the NRA does, the last 3 pages are nothing but websites and places where I got my information, so they can check it out for themselves or learn about collegiate shooting for the first time or that kind of thing.
In other words, you're saying, don't take my word for it. Here are the websites. Go online, look them up yourself. If you challenge any of this, then go research it yourself. And here's a place to start.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's now, you have an idea that, of course, we want to put this in the hands of gun owners because they're going to be the ones who are most likely to buy this book. And I'm telling you, folks, it's $8. It's a little bitty book. It will take you no time to read it. But we have this idea of we want people to get one and also to get one to pass it along. And so along that line, we've come up with this idea of if they buy one in the next week, we're going to give them an extra book. We're going to actually send them 2 books, right?
Yep. Assuming that the sales between now and Friday are probably going to be the result of your show, and thank you again for that, Tom. I'll put an extra book in any order, no additional expense. So you buy a book, you end up with 2, and maybe we can kind of get things rolling by getting some extra copies out there sooner than later.
Okay, so all they have to do is go to Amazon.com. They can also go to my website, guntalk.com, and look under Tom's Picks. But either way, go to Amazon and look up NRA, The Rest of the Story. Think Paul Harvey, The Rest of the Story. That'll help you remember it. Yeah. And if you buy a book, you will actually get 2 books for a week because you're a Gun Talk listener. And the idea, at least what we're talking about here, is, look, buy a book, keep that one, and use the other one to pass along to somebody. Because we're trying to get a message out here. We're trying to kill some misperceptions, not just with people who are not gun people, but actually misperceptions within the gun industry, too, the gun world. NRA members don't even know.
Yeah, we don't need our own members passing along this information. That's right.
Exactly right. Well, look, Chip, I appreciate it so much. I wish you a lot of luck. It's a great little book, and I do mean little, folks. This is one that you'll hand along to people, and you'll refer to it often. It's a great project, and I'm so glad you did this.
Appreciate your time, Tom, and helping the cause, and it's small enough it'll even fit in your gun bag, so you can take it along with you. All
right, put it in your gun bag. Take it to the range. In fact, put both of them in there. Give one to somebody. Thank you so much, Chip. Appreciate that. 866-TALK-GUN is how you get in here. 866-TALK-GUN, looking for your range reports. What are you shooting? What are you hearing? Any misconceptions that you run across? Man, I ran into a couple of them this week I got to tell you about. You're not going to believe this stuff.
At Double Tap Ammunition, we hand inspect every round that we make, and we use only the best components to give you the best ammunition on the market. Try us out at www.doubletapammo.com and use the promo code GUNTALK for 10% off your order.
The Smith & Wesson Bodyguards. Carry more comfortably, walk more confidently. When it comes to personal protection, nothing beats a Bodyguard. Choose the lightweight, compact, and concealable Bodyguard 380 pistol or the Bodyguard 38 revolver, both with a built-in laser sight. The Smith & Wesson Bodyguards. Carry more comfortably, walk more confidently.
Hey everyone, I'm Doug Koenig, winner of more than 60 national and world shooting championships. You know what? I'm here to tell you that the only thing I like better than competitive matches with high-powered pistols and better than hunting big white-tailed deer is watching NRA Freedom Friday presented by Cheaper Than Dirt on the Pursuit Channel. It's true what they say. Pursuit Channel delivers the outdoors.
If you carry a gun, you need training. Your concealed carry class was definitely not training. But time, money, and obligations keep you from spending days at a shooting school. The trusted folks at Gun Talk can help. Concealed Carry 1, our DVD featuring the VADA Group, covers what gun, what holster, how to carry, where to wear your gun, and much more. Visit shopguntalk.com. That's shopguntalk.com. Look, this really is life and death. Learn how to stay aware, how to get away, and how to fight if you must. At shopguntalk.com, you can get the 2 DVD set, including Fighting with the 1911 with Tiger McKee. No matter what gun you carry, this vital training info can save your life. Learn the draw, the stance, reloading, vital gear from Gun Talk. That's shopguntalk.com. shopguntalk.com.
Accurate, powerful, consistent. At Double Tap Ammunition, we offer 364 loads in 83 calibers that give you exactly what you've been looking for. Try us out at www.doubletapammo.com and use the promo code GUNTALK for 10% off your order.
In the dark about which firearm is best for self and family defense? Call Tom now for great suggestions for your purchase and a lifetime of insight regarding the safe handling, operating, and storage of your new addition. Now, once again, Tom Gresham.
Let's see, we got a story. Where is it? I think this was out of Indianapolis. No, actually, Wisconsin, in Milwaukee. A group which is described in this news report as a mob of Wisconsin teens attempted to rob a group of adults in Milwaukee, only to be shot at by a West Allis, I believe A-L-L-I-S, West Allis man carrying a concealed carry weapon. Police say the group of teens attempted to rob a group of adults when one of the men pulled out his gun and began shooting at the teens. He killed one of them, a 15-year-old known gang member, according to this report. Previously, the teen had been charged with armed robbery, auto theft, and fleeing. Others have been arrested. They all, at least most of them, appear to have criminal records. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Line 3, Lyle is with us out of Phoenix, Arizona. Hello, Lyle. You're on Gun Talk.
Good morning. I was wondering about this New York SAFE Act. How can that county attorney make them turn over their names of people who bought the AR-15s? Isn't that against federal law? There's a story that a county attorney is telling a gun store to turn over the names of everybody who's purchased. I think it's AR-15s that have a bullet button is what they're trying to do. Basically, they're saying, well, what he's going to try to say is those are illegal. He's going to try to build that case. Your question is, isn't it illegal? It's not illegal. Well, it may well be. That's the first answer. Secondly, it may not matter if he gets away with it. President Obama gets away with breaking the law all the time. Eric Holder gets away with breaking the law all the time. If they get away with it, then it doesn't much matter. And the question is, who's going to stop the district attorney? How do you stop a rogue district attorney? In the case of like knife rights, we've sued the district attorney in New York, City, New York, and we're making headway on that one, by the way, because we've been arresting people who carry pocket knives and shaking down stores that sell folding knives, saying, here's the deal. We won't charge you with a crime if you make a voluntary contribution to our slush fund. Gee, I thought that's what the mafia did. So, I mean, I understand what you're saying, and this goes to much further. And thanks, Lyle. Appreciate the call. It goes to how insidious these quote-unquote assault weapon bans are. When they start saying, well, we can ban some guns,
because those are bad guns over there. Those of us who have been around this a long time, we have been down this road many, many times. The gun banners know they can't ban all the guns at once, so they say, well, we'll get them a piece at a time. Some guns are too big, 50 cal. Some guns are too small. Back when they had the Saturday Night Special, those are small, easily concealable. We're going to ban guns that are too small because they're easily concealable. Some guns shoot too fast, semi-autos. And some guns are just ugly, and they offend us. So we don't want the ones that have pistol grips on them and bayonet lugs. And they carve out a little niche, and they make up a cool-sounding, scary name, Saturday Night Special, sniper rifle, assault weapon. And then they get their cocktail party buddies in the media to parrot that continuously until even gun owners foolishly start using the same terms. But you have to understand at the core of it, at the heart of it, is that they want them all. Some guns are too big. Some guns are too small. Some guns are too ugly. Some guns shoot too fast. Some guns are too powerful. You know, if you've got guns that are too big, and they're too big, and guns are too small, and they're too small, and those are all infinitely expandable categories, they will and do meet in the middle at a point where all guns are included. And that's where we are with, quote-unquote, assault weapon bans. Because it doesn't really have a real definition, which works to their favor. And that means that they can include anything and everything they want. Oh, that looks scary. Oh, we forgot to include that one over there. We're going to have to include that one, too, because it was once used in a scary crime. So we're scared. Scared is our motivation. Scared is what you get the public to act upon. If you can scare them, you can get them moving. 866-TALK-GUN.
Have you taken your family, friends, and kids shooting lately?
You're listening to Tom Gresham's Gun Talk, and we'll be right back. Want to be a guest on the show? Drop us a line at info@guntalk.com. You're listening to Gun Talk with Tom Gresham.
I mentioned that we were shooting the First Person Offender series, the video series this week. Had some very interesting reactions. People, you never know what people are going to do when you put them into a scenario and an attack comes. And you have people who walk in appearing to be kind of nervous and they're not sure what they're going to do, and then they respond wonderfully. And then you have people who walk in very confident of themselves and they totally crater in the middle of it. We had a lady who thinks of herself as prepared and with it and sharp and proactive and all of that. Could not get her to defend herself. I'm talking about putting hands on her, pushing her around, doing everything but knocking her on the ground. Bad guy showing a gun, and she's got a gun on her, and she won't pull it out. I mean, we had to push it to the point where basically we're in a Mexican standoff with guns pulled. These are simunition guns, pointing at each other. It's like all of us watching want to scream, "Shoot him! He is about to abduct you." It was amazing. We had a young man who has a carry permit, has a number of guns, is kind of a student of all of this. Put him into an active shooter situation. He responded wonderfully had he been on his own. Only problem was he had one of his loved ones there with him. His real life loved one. Left her in the middle of the active shooter scenario. Uh-oh. Gonna be a long drive home. A lot of explaining to do. Oh, goodness. Not so good. Let's talk to Bill on line 2. He's in Liberty Mo. Hello, Bill. What's martial law? What are you doing here?
Hey, Tom, I figured you'd be the guy to talk to about this. If you could tell me if your CCW would be no good if they inducted martial law.
Who is they?
Well, the powers that be, like up around St. Louis area, if something breaks loose here in a month or two.
Okay, here's the deal. Martial law is largely misunderstood by almost everybody, what it actually means. And it's actually misunderstood, maybe purposefully so, by people who try to invoke it, maybe mayors or governors. In some states, it doesn't even actually exist. There's no such thing. There's nothing on the books. So the question is, but if they say, okay, we're going to invoke, that's what you always hear, invoking martial law. Supposedly it means that, there are no laws out there. You have to do what we say. Let me turn around and ask you a question. If the governor of Missouri declares martial law and says nobody could carry a gun because we have floods, fires, famine, riots, name something, whatever it is, what's Bill and Liberty Mo going to do? What are you going to do in that case?
Well, I'm a firm believer that I'd rather have 12 people decide on something as to have 6 carry me.
Yep, better be judged by 12 than carried by 6. I get it. I understand it. And the other thing is, concealed is concealed. And if martial law has been declared, number one, probably if it's a real deal, hunkering down in your house is probably a really good idea. Now, if they're starting to go door to door and kick in doors to pick up guns, people say, that would never happen in the United States. Really? I got 2 words for you. Hurricane Katrina, where they went in and kicked in doors and took guns from everybody. And the rule was totally illegal, but the mayor gave the order and the police obeyed it. Cogitate on that for a second. The mayor gave the order, illegal, and the police illegally obeyed it. There's no such thing as martial law in Louisiana. And they kicked in doors, and the mayor said, and the police chief said, no one in this town is going to have a gun other than police. And they kicked in doors and they took them. They knocked down people and took their guns. They stole guns from houses that were not occupied. They injured people like little old ladies. We got the video of that one, knocking her down, taking her little bitty revolver. So I guess the question becomes, and thanks, Bill, I appreciate the call, the question becomes for each of you, what would you do? What would you do if they declared martial law? They, whoever it is, the mayor, the governor, somebody, and says, you can't carry a gun out there. We're getting control of the situation. That's one thing. And then if they start going in and kicking in doors, and people say, you guys are just paranoid. Well, you know what? It's not paranoia if it's already happening. Not the first time. Won't be the last that some megalomaniac mayor or governor decides that he or she can be the law. And I love when people say, well, the police wouldn't obey that illegal order. Why do you think they got all those toys? Why do you think they got MRAPs and all the rest of that? Tanks and armored personnel carriers. Cool. We got ourselves an armored recreational vehicle. Dan's in Lake Tahoe on line 3. Dan, how can we help you today?
I have an interesting situation. I have a young woman that wants to learn how to shoot a pistol. She's never shot a pistol before. She moved into a neighborhood where she may need one. And she asked if I could... Say again?
Is she a friend of yours or related to you? What's the connection here?
Yeah, the daughter of friends of mine, yeah. They're overseas right at the moment. So,
okay.
I've been a training NCO in the Army, and I could do it, but I just, that's a 3-week, 4-week process. It's not, I can't do it in an hour. So I had heard of some of these training schools like Thunder Rangers, somebody that has a 3 or 4 day class for beginners. And she's never even fired a pistol before. So is there such a thing where we could kind of research that and send her there?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, what I would do, first thing is, look, you have gun stores and shooting ranges right there in your area. Is she right there in that Lake Tahoe, Reno area?
Yes.
Man, there are gun stores and shooting ranges all over the place around there. Get her signed up with a shooting instructor.
Yeah, well, the instructors are $80 an hour. She's a college student, so she doesn't have a whole lot of money.
Well, how much do you think it costs to go to a 3-day school? You're talking $1,000 or more.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
You either want the training or you don't want the training. I mean, and I get it that money is hard to come by, and she doesn't have a lot of money. So first you're asking about paid training. Okay, she can't. What you're now telling me is that she can't afford to pay anybody to teach her. Is that what you're saying?
Well, she can probably. It's kind of a conundrum. It's a good thing she wants to do this.
Yep.
But it's got to be done correctly. I mean, I don't want to turn somebody loose that could do something to harm themselves or someone else.
I agree, and that's where I would call around, check the local gun stores and shooting ranges, say, look, who has classes going? Guarantee you they have classes going all the time. It might be a concealed carry class, and the thing is, you can take a concealed carry class and not apply to get a concealed carry permit. You just take the class because you learn things in it about the legal use of force and such. You can go take an NRA basic handgun class somewhere, which is not going to be outrageously expensive. You can go around and find, ask them, hey, you guys going to have any ladies only classes? And maybe, look, if she's the daughter of a friend and you want to help out, maybe say, look, I'll put up the $100 for you, or whatever it's going to be, or the $50 for the class, if that helps, or whatever you can do. I applaud you for thinking this thing through and saying, look, I don't want to do that. On the other hand, if you know handguns and you know guns, and yeah, it'd be nice if she could do a 3-day class, but if she could do 2 hours with you, and then in a couple of weeks do another 2 hours with you at the range, and then a couple of weeks do another 2 hours, hey, you're making a lot of headway. That's a huge improvement over no training at all.
That's correct. Yeah, like I said, I've trained rifle and handgun for the Army. I was a training NCO,
right?
So I'm comfortable with it.
Okay.
But like I said, that was really
break it up. Here's what you ought to do. I think you're the guy. Actually, I think you're the guy. Break it up and say, okay, I'm just going to teach you basic handgun. We're going to go out and shoot a little bit, not defensive stuff, just learning how to operate a gun. And then, in a week or two, we're going to go out and we're going to shoot something else. And then, just a piece at a time, and you just build it up. You could actually build a curriculum over the course of a couple or 3 months that gets her there. You would enjoy it. She would enjoy it. She could afford it if you're doing it as something to help out some friends. I think that's what I would do. I think that's the solution. I think you are the solution. Listen, I appreciate the call. 866-TALK-GUN. I'm Tom Gresham.
Crossbreed Holsters is broadening our product selection to serve more of your concealed carry needs. With products handmade in the USA, like the Bedside Backup, gun belts, and of course our world-famous Super Tuck and Mini Tuck holsters, we understand what works, and we take pride in providing you with a quality product. At Crossbreed Holsters, we live and breathe concealed carry. We make and sell products that we believe in and products that our customers love. To see more, go to crossbreedholsters.com. That's crossbreedholsters.com.
The new Walther PPX offers a smooth trigger, ambidextrous magazine release, 3 integral safeties, rugged construction, and the famous Walther ergonomic grip. All this at a great price. Right now, get a free magazine, holster, and dual mag pouch when you purchase a PPX. Feel the perfect fit of the Walther PPX at your local gun dealer or go to waltherarms.com for more information. That's waltherarms.com.
Brownells proudly celebrates 75 years of history and heritage as the world's first choice for firearms, accessories, ammunition, and gunsmithing tools. So whether you're a gunsmith in need of parts and supplies, a new shooter looking for the perfect holster, or a skilled competitor seeking the latest gear, Brownells has what you need. And best of all, every purchase comes with the industry's only forever satisfaction guarantee. Visit us at Brownells.com.
Successful hunters know big bucks move early and late, often when it's too dark for common scopes. When that monster steps out, you might see him through the scope, but the crosshairs disappear. All that work and you can't take the shot. But with the Trigicon AccuPoint scope, you'll get the shot. Its bright aiming point glows in daylight or darkness. No batteries needed. AccuPoint scopes are water-resistant and nitrogen-filled, feature multi-layer coated lenses for the brightest image, and you can adjust brightness of the aiming point to match the conditions. Adding 10 or 15 minutes to each end of the day can double the magic moments when the trophies move. You can't hit the target if you can't see the sights. Trigicon AccuPoint scopes. Check out the different models at Trigicon.com or call 1-800-338-0563. Brilliant aiming solutions from Trigicon.
In the field or on the range, you need a trigger you can trust. For over 60 years, Timney triggers have been trusted by hunters and shooters everywhere. A Timney trigger could mean the difference between a great shot and a miss. Timney triggers are proudly made in the USA and come with a lifetime warranty. To order, go to TimneyTriggers.com. That's TIMNEY Triggers.com.
Know your rights and how to apply them in these uncertain times. Keep it here on Gun Talk, and you'll be informed with accurate information and the facts. Now, Gun Talk continues.
All right, back with you. 866-TALK-GUN will get you in here, or just dial 1-TOM-TALK-GUN. Don't forget, you can also shoot me an email, tom@guntalk.com. We'll get you in there. Hey, our buddies over at Trigicon want to remind you that the World Shooting Championships taking place. That is September 10 to 13 at the Peacemaker National Training Center in Glengarry, West Virginia. You can go over there and you can watch it. First ever World Shooting Championship. It's a 3-gun event. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of big money there. So probably all the top shooters. Going to be a whole bunch of cool stuff going on there. Let's see. I'll tell you what I'll do. Let's do. Yes, Robert, line 2, North Dakota. You got a question for me?
Hi, Tom. Yes, sir. I love your show, and I just want to get to the point, talking about the coming to the door-to-door and confiscating our guns. You know, it's already happened in the past with Mao and Hitler and other, in our history. So I'd like to know, you're always like asking us what would we do in that situation. I'm just curious, what would you do in that situation, sir?
Well, there are a lot of variables involved, but first of all, I'm not going to have all the guns I own at my house. So if they come and take all the guns from my house, those won't be all the guns that I own. It's not a bad idea to have some of your guns, if you have 1 or 2 that are being held and loaned to a friend of yours. Also a good idea, if you ever got into a self-defense shooting, there are a lot of instances of the police coming and taking all a person's guns after they're involved in a self-defense shooting, leaving them completely defenseless against the gang members and family members of the person he had to defend himself against. So what would I do? I'm not going to stand in the door and try to shoot it out with SWAT teams that have an MRAP and full auto. That's suicidal. At the same time, would I stop carrying my gun? No. No, that's not going to happen. Especially not if there's all sorts of civil unrest. Are you kidding me? That's not going to happen at all. 866-TALK-GUN.
You don't have to agree with Tom to participate in the show. Call now with any of your concerns about guns, gun rights, or particular firearms, or suggestions for your shooting activity or personal protection. 1-866-825-5486. Gun Talk is coming right back.
right, just got an email from somebody who said, look, I just heard about this deal where you buy the book on the NRA and you get a free book. Where do I get that deal? Okay, let me go over this again. We just had Chip Lohman on. He wrote this book. It's brand new, called NRA, The Rest of the Story, Getting Past the Perception. It's a little bitty book. I mean, it's kind of like a hefty pamphlet almost, but it's cool. It worked real well. It's $8. Come on, it's $8. For 1 week only until Friday. If you buy this off Amazon, which is where you go to get it, just go to Amazon.com and put in NRA, The Rest of the Story in your search. Buy one copy for $8. He will send you 2 copies. He wants to get this out into everybody's hands, and we arranged with him and said, hey, can you pull this off, Chip? He says, yeah, we could do that. That'll work. For Gun Talk folks, yeah, for Gun Talk listeners. So you just go to Amazon.com and order NRA, The Rest of the Story, $8. You get an extra one. You can give it to your friends. People who say, oh, the NRA, blah, blah, blah. Well, look, there's probably a lot to the NRA that you don't know. In fact, I guarantee you there's a lot to the NRA that you don't know. Will is on line 1 out of Spokane, Washington. Will, you're up.
Tom, thank you so much for your show. I look forward to it every Sunday. Tom, we've got quite a fight ahead of us here in Washington State to defeat Initiative 591. And I wanted to draw attention to that, both for our listeners in Washington State and nationwide. We're going head-to-head against Bloomberg and the other elites that want to pass this initiative that will require background checks on every transfer of a firearm, including just loaning one to your friend or neighbor.
Right. Oh, yeah. I mean, we've been talking about that. We had Dave Workman on here last week talking about, and there are 2 initiatives. People need to make sure they understand. There's 591 and 594. 591 is actually just one paragraph, and it's a good measure. 594 is the one that Bloomberg's backing, and they say, well, it's just a simple little background check bill. It's 18 pages long. How much anti-gun stuff do you think they have stuffed into 18 pages? And, of course, there will be only a couple of lines on the ballot. And with all the advertising that Bloomberg and, let's see, Bill Gates, Paul Allen, other billionaires are pouring money into Washington State. Why would they do that? Because they know that if they can shove this through in Washington State, they can shove it through in a lot of other states. And now they know they can't get this thing done on a national basis in Congress. It's not going to happen. Yeah, 591 is good. 594 is bad. And I think you said defeat 591. No, you want to defeat 594. And so I appreciate the correction from the studio. Thanks, guys. Appreciate that. Why are they doing this? They want this national background check. They want... And look, here's the deal. It's not a background check. This is a ban on private sale of guns. Make no mistake about it. It's a ban on gun shows. It's a ban on the private sale of guns. You couldn't sell a gun to a buddy. You couldn't sell a gun to a friend. You couldn't give a gun to somebody. Because you'd have to, without the government's permission, without asking the FBI, please, 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 mother, may I sell this gun? It is when they say universal background check, what you should be hearing is a ban on private sales. That's what it is. And so they want to shove this through in Washington State. People, we have 2 months until the midterm elections. 2 months until Election Day. We had all better get our heads in the game for the next 60 days and make sure we understand what's going on, whether it's making sure that the Senate races go the way that you want them to go, or getting involved in these state initiatives. And it doesn't matter if you live in Washington or live somewhere else. You need to be plugged in. You need to be involved. When we come back, we're going to have the story of a man who used his gun safety training to good effect. This is a story you definitely want to hear.
No black helicopters here, just the facts about gun rights and gun ownership. This is Gun Talk.